Hello, good morning, Vanakkam, Vandanam, Namaste, Namaskar to everyone. I am Parveen Ansari from Tamil Nadu, India, a land known for its timeless wisdom and innovation. I'd like to begin with a beautiful Tirukural. ஒற்றுமையுளான பொருள் இல்லை யாற்றி மற்றுமையா வேணும் இடத்து, which means there is no greater strength than unity. Even those who lost power can regain it through unity. That spirit of unity truly reflects that brings us together today as part of this global Cypress community, learning, sharing, and growing as one. I represent Renault Group, a global leader in automotive innovation and technology. At Renault, we are continuously evolving our digital and quality practices to deliver smarter, faster, and more reliable solutions. And testing plays a vital role in that transformative journey. Along with my colleague Aswini, we are excited to share some of our key learnings from this journey, focusing on preserving authentication and fail fast strategy in Cypress. I'll begin with first topic, preserve authentication, where we look at how we streamline the login of Cypress, covering the business value, framework, integration, and short demo. Here I'll share my screen for the presentation. Ashwini, can you please confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, Parveen, it's visible.
Okay. So let me begin with the first topic, preserve authentication. So why do we even need a preserved authentication? Can anyone say me? So as we all know, most web applications require login to access their key features. In Cypress, by default, cookies, local storage, and session storage are created between testers. It cleared. So that means we have to run, if we have 10 test cases, each test cases start freshly having each login every single time. This repeated re-authentication is not only time consuming, but also inefficient, especially when tests are part of large regression tests. So we actually tasted that inefficiency. That's where preserve authentication come in. So in simple terms, it means storing and reusing a user session like cookies or tokens across multiple tests. By doing this, we make our test run faster, more consistent, and less redundant. Essentially, it eliminates the need to perform login step every single time, streamlining the whole testing workflow and improve the execution efficiency. So moving on to the business value assessment. So not only it is a small technical code, it also add more business value when we add this to us. So now that we have understood that preserving authentication means, let's move on to see how it added value to our overall testing process. When we assessed our earlier automation run, the real challenge was not about logging in multiple times. It was about how that repetition impacted the real speed, feedback, and also the system efficiency. For instance, our execution timeline was stretched because every new test started from scratch. It's really a very painful point for us. This slowed down our regression cycle and impacted the delivery timeline. So not only the delivery timeline, it also impacted the feedback loop, was another important pain point for us. Test results took longer to come in, which delayed defect analysis and slowed the pace to continuous integration. We also observed higher resource usage, repeated authentication requests consumed unnecessary bandwidth. The system resource, especially when we do this in CI/CD pipeline. So we approached it strategically now. So we implemented a preserve authentication strategy using sessions and cookie handling. So the authentication state persisted between test cases. Next, we integrated the session management directly into our automation framework, allowing all the tests to reuse the single authenticated session intelligently. Then came CI/CD integration. We optimized our pipeline to leverage these preserved sessions, ensuring faster and more consistent run. This approach not only improved the test efficiency, it also improved our stability, but also drastically reduced flakiness that used to occur because of login or timeout issues. It also allowed us to extend this solution across multiple products securely through reusable authentication modules. And finally, to maintain security, we added dynamic cookie management where cookies auto expire when the browser closes, keeping the session safe yet temporary. So, in short, this was not just a technical fix, it was a business efficiency gain, helping us deliver faster, lighter, and more stable CI/CD execution. So, if you see here, we have shown you before implementing the preserve authentication approach, this is how the Cypress test looks like. So, we have taken two different test cases over here. So, the first test case, it starts, it logins, it then goes with a new context page created and do navigation and do all these things, and then it closes, which close the entire browser, entire test cases, ensuring it not saves any cookies into it. So even though both belongs to the same suit, they behave as if knows nothing about the each other. The session from test case 1 is not reused in the test case 2, which means the login process happens again and again. This might look harmless for a couple of test cases, but when we have large number of test suit, it is going to take much time and repeated login again and again. In short, this was our before picture, a flow filled with redundancy and delay, which we wanted to simplify through preserving authentication strategy. So now you see, with preserve authentication, now it look like how the workflow transform after implementing preserve authentication. On the left, you can see test case 1, a very first test still goes through a standard login process. It creates a new context, navigates to the login page, enter the credentials, and gets redirected to the home page. But here, the key difference is once the login is successful, we store the session information securely. This session's data, whether it's a token or a cookie, becomes reusable for the next set of test cases. Now, look at the test case 2 on the right. Instead of starting from scratch, it simply uses the stored session, no repeated login, no redundant step. It directly redirects to home page and do the proceeding steps. This means all subsequent test cases can reuse the same authenticated session until it expires or is intentionally closed. The result, a streamlined, faster, and much more efficient test execution flow. So compared to the previous slide, we have removed multiple repetitive actions, saving both time and system resources while maintaining session stability. So if you see here, it shows like how we have implemented it. So I'll show in real time a small demo on how we have implemented the feature. So here I have one of the project where we don't have preserve authentication. Okay, so just I'm executing the session. Here comes our Cypress window. So opening E2E testing with Chrome browser. So if you see here, I have 3 test cases in my desktop. So it started executing. So if you see here, it starts with homepage. It gives the credentials. Then it does the necessary action, whatever I have given in the test case. And then it comes to the next test case. So again, it usually happens, right? This what happens for us day in and day out when we do automation. So we need to see this authentication in each and every test cases, even though it is in the same suit. So same suit itself, the situation it is. Then if it's a multiple suit, again, it's going to happen the same. So if you see all case passed, but you see the authentication, it's as never is the same, like each time it is happening in and around. So the same way we had a solution. So I'm going to run the one which we don't have. First I'll run and show you, then I'll show you what is the difference we made over here. So I'm executing my preserve authentication demonstration. So again, our Cypress window is opening up, E2E testing, Chrome, start the UAT testing. So same, I have the desktop, but here I have 4 different test cases. So first test case, login with Aswini's credential, and it is going in, executed. Second time, you didn't see the login page. You see here? You didn't see here. So I'll show you once it's completed. So third is a different credential. That's why it is logging in. It's stored. And the fourth test case also uses the second login credential. That's why it's not going into the login page. So if you see here, the main key difference. So when it is logging in, it logs with Aswini's credential. It says it's as created. So once it's login, it's creating its own sessions and it saves in it. And when you see the second one, it has the same session. So if you see here, it has a session, it's saying it's restored. So if you want to run with Aswini's credential 1000 test case also, it won't do again a relogin. It runs with the same restored session key ID. Once this browser is closed, everything will be vanished, everything will be removed from the memory. So why the third time it logins? Because third time I used a different user. That's why third time it cleared all sessions and it login through a different session, different login. Why it is doing a clear? Because it has a session ID before, but when it looks on, it is a different session key, like different login. That's why it's clearing the session first and then it is creating a new login session. So it created now. And the fourth test case, if you see, it restored the Ramya's ID and it is running in with that. So this is how it works. We showed only very simple scenario, but it for a very large regression suite like us, we have 100 plus product into our group where that time the regression was very big and it helped a lot for us. And I'll show how we did it in our code. So what you want to do is in command.js, you want to enter different your session. So you want to say you want to store your session email ID, and once it is login, it will store it over here. And the main thing is you want to say that your cache across specs is true. Like this is one where it cache and keep it across the run you do. If you say this is false, it won't catch the session ID for the multiple users. So this one we need to create in your command JS, and you can call it across your test cases. So here if you see, so we are calling it across whenever we do a login. So whenever we have a login, we can call it across, and that's how it works. So when we do the multiple user things, user 1 and user 2 we have stored, and we also use encrypt decrypt method so that whenever we push the code into CI/CD pipeline, we can't see our login username and password over there. It encrypts when it goes to CI/CD and decrypts while it's running, and then nothing will be there in the CI/CD pipeline. We can't see our original username and password over there because we are giving it over here. That's why we did it as an encryption and decryption method over there. So that's it from my side for preserve authentication. I leave the stage to Aswini to share on fail fast strategy method. Thank you so much for listening on this. Over to you, Aswini.
Is my screen visible, Parveen?
Yes, it's loading. Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Myself, Ashwini, a quality engineering lead at RNTBCI. Thank you, Parveen, for giving a wonderful overview of preserve authentication in Cypress. Now, let's move to another capability which saves a lot of execution time of fail fast. So, let me share a quick story that everyone can relate to, a code review crunch. So, before merging a big feature branch, we used to run a full Cypress suite as a part of the pull request check. So last month, one login test failed at the start. The suit kept on running for nearly an hour, which delays in the overall code review time. Imagine as soon as one test in the feature file failed, the Cypress stopped executing the remaining scenarios in the feature file and it start continuing with the next feature file. That what exactly the Cypress fail fast does. It skips the remaining scenarios in the failing feature file. It saves the time, resource, and speeding up of the review cycle. Now I will show how this fail fast works, why it matters, and how we can enable in our own runs. In the large suit, if the critical scenarios fail, running all remaining scenarios may be a pointless. It wastes the time and the resource. By stopping yearly, we can detect a problem faster, debugging efficiently, and we can also save the CI/CD pipeline time. In a simple word, a fail fast means stopping immediately when something goes wrong instead of it continuing it blindly. Moving on to the business value assessment, previously our testing process has faced few main challenges. To begin with, the defects were often detected quite late in a cycle. So by the time we identified defects, the dependent test case have already failed. This will lead to increase in the debugging time and it will be a very difficult task for us to do. The next is even when the early steps in the test fails, the suit kept on continue. This unnecessary execution consumes CI/CD pipeline time, resource, and the effects. The another issue was tracing the root cause. Because our test chain were long, a single failure could trigger a multiple follow-up errors. This will create a lot of noise and making us difficult to locate where actual the problem has started. As the result, we need to go through a lengthy log files to locate the real-time issues. Ultimately, this will lead to the lower feedback and it reduce the test effectiveness. To overcome this situation, we have implemented this fail fast. So after implementing this fail fast, our testing process becomes faster and more focused. So we configured this Cypress fail fast to stop the execution at the moment when critical scenarios fails. So this ensure no time has been wasted for the invalid runs. We also implemented the custom hooks for the yearly exist. For example, login steps or API data load failed, the flow will break immediately. By this approach, it makes a debugging more efficient and it allows us to focus on the first issue rather on chasing with multiple follow-up errors. It also makes the CI/CD more faster, smoother, and it gives a quicker feedback. And our test reports are now very clean, and we can focus on the real-time issues alone. Overall, this approach encourages our better test discipline with a faster, independent, and clearly defined test. So moving on to process mapping, before implementing this fail fast, if our feature file contains many dependent scenarios, if one dependent scenarios fail and running remaining scenarios may be pointless because it definitely going to fail. So overall, this will increase the execution time and we need to focus, we need to go through a lengthy log files to locate the real-time issues. So after implementing this fail fast, so if one test in the scenario, if one scenarios in the feature file fail, it will skip the remaining scenarios in the same feature file. By this, we can reduce the execution time and it allows us to focus on the first major issue rather on chasing on with the multiple follow-up issues. Moving on to the implementation of failfast, here I've approached two methods. The first one is global configuration, which is available in Cypress. For this, we need to install a plugin, npm install Cypress failfast. So once it is installed, we need to configure in a cypress.config.js file. So let me show a demo. So once we install the plugin, we need to configure these lines. So once it is done, we need to import this failfast in our e2e.js file. So once it is done, we are ready to use it. So I have this desktop.feature file. So for the first scenario, I'm wantedly going to fail these scenarios. So if this scenarios fails, the upcoming scenarios will be skipped automatically. Now let's see how it works. and this will applies to the all the feature file. So in the first scenario, I wantedly failed this scenario. So once it is failed, it will skip all the remaining 3 scenarios in this feature file. Yeah, it got skipped. Now it's moving to the next feature file. So in this feature file, there is no errors. So it is executing fully. So now it's moving on to the next feature file. So if any failures have captured, then it will skip all the remaining scenarios in that particular feature file. And the same methodology will be captured in all the feature files. Yeah, that's it. Here you can see in the first feature, one scenarios got failed, so remaining 3 scenarios got skipped. The other two feature files ran correctly. So now moving to the second method, a custom fail first. Sometimes we don't want to stop the entire execution. Instead of that, we need to stop executing the critical group of tests alone. For that, we implemented this custom fail first for the tagged scenarios. So for this, how it works? So if the scenarios are not tagged, or if the execution will be continued even after the failures. So if the scenarios are tagged, the first failure will skip the remaining. If the scenario which is tagged and all passed, and it will run normally. So for this also we need to install a dependency, and then we need to create a before each and after each method in a hooks.js file. So for to use this, we need to comment the global configuration. So I've created a hooks. The methodology behind this is first in the feature file, it will check whether the the scenarios contains any tags or not. If it contains tag, then it will extract the tag name, and it will check and it will execute that scenarios. So in case if that scenarios got failed, then it will save that tag name, and it will check in the upcoming execution whether the upcoming execution scenarios are the same tag. Then it will skip the those scenarios, it won't execute. Apart from that, which is not tagged, it will run normally. So we need to command this global fail fast import, and we need to enable this hooks. So here I am going to give a tag name called some smoke. So I'm going to use the same tag here. So same like a previous execution, I'm wantedly going to fail this scenario. So it will capture this tag name, and it will check before executing the next scenario. If this same tag, the next scenarios as, then it will skip this scenarios. And the other which is untagged will run normally. So it is getting the tag name. So now it got failed. So it skipped the second scenario. You can see here because it is tagged with the same name. The other which is to untagged will run normally. So this is the custom fail-fast implementation. Coming to the recap summary, this preserve authentication says the effects, improves the stability and speed up of the test runs. By reusing this login session, we eliminate the redundant logins and reduce the flakiness. It is a simple optimization that makes our test faster, more reliable, and CI/CD becomes more efficient. Coming to the fail fast saves the time, reduce the noise, and it gives the faster feedback. In CI/CD pipeline, this means we can fix the first root cause issues instead of waiting for the full suite to complete. It is a small change in the test strategy which gives a big impact on the efficiency. Thank you, team.